Aditola Akombiemu, and I'm going to be facilitating this course LIS 107 Basic Computer Skills and Operating System. And this lesson is going to be our first lesson. The topic is the concept and the evolution of computer. Now, in this lesson, we're going to look at what a computer is and then the basic terms that are being used when describing a computer. We're also going to look at how computer has evolved from the first generation to the fifth generation and even up to this present moment. This lesson promises to be an interesting lesson. I just want you to keep your fingers crossed. Once again, my name is Adetola Akombiemu, and like I said, our lesson for today will be on the concept and the evolution of computer. Now, at the end of this lesson, there are certain things that I expect us to have learned. We must have been able to define what a computer is, and must have been able to explain some of the concepts that are associated with the definition of computer, and then we must be able to outline the generation. Now, everywhere we go to, we see computers being used by both old people and both young people. We find them in our shops, we find them in our cars, we find them in our libraries, we find them in our living rooms, we find them in our offices. But you see, the ability to use this computer is what makes you communicate with your friends. It's what makes you communicate with your library users, and it also enhances your skill in providing online library resources and the desired user. But what is a computer? A computer is an electronic device which accepts data, processes the data by converting the data into desired information needed by the user with great speed and accuracy. A computer can also be defined as an electronic machine that can be instructed to carry out sequences of arithmetic or logical operations automatically through computer programs. Now, based on the definition of the computer that we just defined, there are certain words there that are key that was used in defining a computer. We have words like electronic device, input, data, processing, and output. And I want us to look at those terms. First, when you hear the word electronic, what comes to your mind? An electronic device is any device that requires a form of electric current, either a direct current or alternating current. Now, I'm not going to go into physics. What I'm trying to say is that any device that makes use of electricity, that uses light. The second word is input. Now, input can be said to be some set of instructions or some commands that are called programs that are being that is being instruct that the computer is being instructed to perform. Data are raw facts, unprocessed information, unorganized information. That's what data is. Processing. Now, when it comes to processing can be either arithmetic or logical. When we talk about arithmetic processing, we're talking about when the data is being subjected to arithmetic principles like addition, subtraction, multiplication. Now that's arithmetic. But for logical operators uses operators such as greater than, less than, equals to. Now, after instructions have been inputted into the computer, after it has been processed, the result is what we call output, or we call it information. And basically what the output does is that it helps us to make decisions and it also brings out information that can be useful. Now, our class activity one. I want you to look at these three images, these three pictures, and tell me which of these are examples of a computer. I'll give you about 5, 10 seconds. Look at the first picture, look at the second picture, and look at the third picture. The first picture, okay. Okay, I want to believe that by now we have the answers. Are you expecting me to tell you the answer? You should know the answers. Definitely, it's not the last. Now, let's look at computer generations. Remember that this topic is talking about the evolution of computers. Now, computer generations refers to how computers have developed from time past. Before the advent of computer, We used to make use of tally sticks, abacus, and pascaline to calculate. But you see, all these things are not manipulated electrically, and so it takes a lot of time for you to get the results. Unlike today, where you just pick your calculator, 1 plus 1, 1 million plus 5 million, it brings out the answer in little time. So to find a device that can carry out calculation, that can store input and produce results that are faster is what gave rise to the invention of a computer. And when computer was invented, it went through so many stages up to the present stage that we are in, which is also known as generations. Now, these various stages is what Adejola in 2011 identified as five. Now, these five computer generations, we have the first generation, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth. So I want us to look at the first generation. The time of this generation, it was a time of 1940s to 1950s. In those years, computers were big, they were huge, they were taking almost an entire room, they were slow, they used vacuum tubes as their central processing unit. They can solve only one problem at a time. And when the outputs are being displayed, it's usually printed out. Another thing is that it generates a lot of it, and it used to be very expensive in those days. That was in the 1940s to the 1950s. Are you thinking about what I'm thinking? We moved to the second generation. We started from the 1950s to the 1960s. When during the time of the second generation, that vacuum tube that was used as a processing unit was now replaced with transistors. This time around, computers became faster and cheaper. They were durable and they were easy to produce. Though they used punch cards for input and printout for their output, but their memory capacity increased. And even if they still generate heat, but at least they are more advanced than the first generation. Now let's move to the third generation. Is the time of 1960 to 1970. That was when we started having what we call the mini computers. And that time, the size of the computer had reduced, unlike the first generation where the computer filled the whole room. The computers became smaller. Go out, John! Where's your daddy?